Hello everybody. I'm in the studio today because I want to take some time to discuss a couple of very important issues that have been weighing heavily on me lately. And I've got a lot to say, so I'm going to be using my laptop as a teleprompter, so please excuse any downward glances. First, I recently posted a video entitled Last Casts and Bonus Bass. In that video, I was catching bass that were in the act of guarding nests. It was then pointed out to me that doing so is illegal in Pennsylvania, which is where the video was filmed. I checked the regulations to verify, and sure enough, the 2022 Pennsylvania Fishing Summary / Boating Handbook, page 9, bullet 5, states, quote, "It is unlawful to cast repeatedly into a clearly visible bass spawning nest or redd in an effort to catch or take a bass." Though it is not an excuse, I do want to point out that I had no knowledge of this regulation, and in New Jersey, where I normally fish, no such regulation exists. The period between April 15th and June 15th in New Jersey is listed as a closed season, catch and release only period for bass. There is no regulation that I was able to find specifically stating that you cannot catch bass off a nest in New Jersey. And it did not occur to me at a logical level that other states would not allow it. However, the violation was entirely my fault for not making myself familiar with Pennsylvania fishing regulations. Once I learned that I violated the law and posted the evidence for the entire world to see, I took some time to think about what I was going to do. In the end, I decided that the only course of action was to come clean, 100%. Step 1 was to take the video down. I did not want to leave up a video post that depicts a violation of fishing regulations, which may serve to diminish or normalize that behavior. I wouldn't want other anglers to follow the example that that video presents and possibly commit the same violation, which could result in being issued a citation. Step 2, I called the Regional Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission Law Enforcement Office, and I told them what I did. I even stated that I could provide them with video evidence if they wanted to review it. I spoke with one of their conservation officers, and we had a very good, constructive conversation about the incident. Under the circumstances, particularly because I quickly released both of the nesting bass that I caught, the officer elected not to issue me a citation and settled for my verbal commitment that I would not make the same mistake again. Step 3, I had to make this video and tell all of you that I am sorry. It's never my intent to violate any laws while filming for this channel. And even though I was not familiar with the law that I was breaking, ignorance of the law is no excuse for not following it. This was the result of my own failure to familiarize myself with the regulations of the state where I was fishing. And I want to apologize to anyone that I offended or disappointed with my actions. It took me some time to come to terms with what I knew I needed to do to make this right. Mainly because I was embarrassed. It's embarrassing that I allowed this to happen, because it was so preventable. If I practiced what I preach and simply read the fishing regulations of Pennsylvania, I would have known about the law against fishing for nesting bass, and I would not have done it. It's important to acknowledge when you've done something wrong. None of us is perfect, and we'll make mistakes from time to time. But when you do, you need to own up to it and take responsibility, because that is how you can overcome your mistakes and become a better person. And in the end, that is the good example that I hope that I can set. Moving on, I would like to talk about some people who are not setting a good example. I would like to talk about fly fishermen. Specifically, those fly fishermen who believe that their method of fishing is inherently superior and is an open invitation to diminish, discredit, or ridicule those who choose not to fish the way they do. Recently, more so than usual, I have encountered these individuals online and in life, and I think I speak for the majority of the fishing community when I say that dealing with these individuals is a supreme bother. This is obviously nothing new. These self-righteous blowhards have existed since the days of Isaac Walton, and we've all just sort of ignored and/or tolerated them as they bloviate through the smoke of their pipes and expensive cigars. And why would we pay them any regard? After all, we're used to it. Unsavory individuals exist in all facets of our lives, where we work, where we shop, and in some unfortunate cases, where we live. But that's the problem. They're already everywhere else. Should we really tolerate them in the places where we fish? I want to tell you all about an encounter I had with a fly fisherman a few years ago. I was fishing the west branch of the Delaware River, which is hallowed ground for fly fishing on the East Coast. I was fishing under the 191 bridge going into Hancock. I was throwing around a panther martin. Upstream from me was a fly fisherman drifting a nymph. He hooked a big rainbow trout, and in the process of fighting it, he moved downstream close to me. I stopped casting and let him fight the fish in front of me. Well, the fish threw the hook. I commiserated with him, and we struck up a conversation. He told me about how he got into fly fishing, how the first year was almost torturous. But then he learned more and got better at it, and he developed a deep appreciation for the sport. And now he could not imagine fishing any other way. Was he insinuating that I put down my spinning gear and pick up a fly rod? Possibly. But I saw the wide smile on his face during our conversation, and I am certain that he harbored no sense of superiority. He had a genuine passion for fly fishing, and he wanted to share that with me. Fly fishing deserves to be represented by people like that, by people who have wholeheartedly fallen in love with the sport and try their best to make the world understand why. Not by a bunch of punks who rub fly fishing in other people's faces in an effort to elevate themselves in their own minds. I am putting a call out to all of the good and decent fly fishermen out there who treat other fishermen like human beings. And I have to believe that that is the vast majority of you. This is happening in your house, and I know you cannot be happy about it. And you have to show these selfish egotists that you are not happy with them, call them out for their behavior, and be clear that it is neither appreciated nor acceptable. I know it is not fair to ask you to police a problem that shouldn't exist. But it does exist, and it is a big problem. These self-absorbed embarrassments of the sport are the ones who are perpetuating all the worst stereotypes of fly fishing. How fly fishermen are nothing but pampered, doughy snobs who would cast for societal clout before any rising fish. How they value esoteric volumes and single malt scotch above the sport for which they are lavishly equipped. How fly fishing is a showcase of expensive gear and elitism, with very little to do with the fish or the venues in which they are pursued. In short, this cruel minority is turning fly fishing into a punchline. They will not listen to me. They will point at me and laugh like they always do. They need to hear it from the people who fish like they do, who dress like they do, who they stand next to on the streams. And if you call them out frequently and severely enough, and let them know that they cannot assert their unfounded exceptionalism with impunity, maybe they will leave fly fishing behind and take up another hobby to ruin. Or maybe they will be ostracized and forced to congregate only in certain areas, which the rest of us can then avoid. Or maybe, just maybe, you can get one of them to change. And I think that would be worth it. Alright, I'm stepping down from my soapbox now. If you made it this far, I really do appreciate your attention. It's very flattering to know that you think highly enough of me to listen to and consider what I have to say. And when next we meet, there will be a lot less talking and a lot more fishing. And hopefully a lot more fish catching. So, thank you all so much again for listening, and have a wonderful day.